Have you ever heard a song for the first time and instantly felt like you'd lived with it forever? It's 1965. Your transistor radio crackles. A melody grabs you by the collar, and within days, it's everywhere. Then the artist vanishes like they were erased. But here's what makes this countdown addictive. One of these hits triggered FBI investigations and radio bans. Another went to number 1 when the band didn't even exist. And one became a chart topper before its lead singer was murdered in a case that took years to solve. So as we count down 20 one-hit wonders from the 1960s, you forgot you remembered. Comment the very first song that snaps you back in time. No cheating. Number 20, Sugar Shack, Jimmy Gilmer and the Fireballs, 1963.
I'm gonna drink a lot of coffee, spend a little cash, make that girl love.
Close your eyes. You're at the county fair, slow dancing under string lights, cotton candy melting on your tongue. That's the world Sugar Shack created. This irresistible tune topped Billboard for 5 weeks and became the biggest selling single of 1963. Jimmy Gilmer and the Fireballs seemed destined for superstardom. The twist? The Fireballs were an instrumental group. They brought Gilmer in just for this one vocal track. Lightning struck, the song went massive, then they vanished. Pure 1963 innocence. The last big hit before the British invasion changed everything.
We just sit around and dream of those old memories.
Number 19, Louie, the Kingsmen, 1963. The most controversial 3-chord song in American history. The Kingsmen recorded this in Portland for $50, and the vocals were so garbled that panic spread across the nation. What were they really singing? The FBI launched a 2-year investigation. Schools banned it. Parents protested outside radio stations. Teenagers bought it by the millions. It hit number 2 and became bigger than the band itself. Covered over 1,000 times. The Kingsmen thought they'd have careers. Instead, this one song swallowed them whole. And if you think that's wild, wait till we hit the song at number 17 that got pulled from radio stations for mocking mental illness. Number 18, Last Kiss, J. Frank Wilson and the Cavaliers, 1964. See my baby when I leave this world. If you wanted to cry in 1964, you put on Last Kiss. This teenage tragedy ballad tells the story of a car crash and one final goodbye. J. Frank Wilson sang it with such raw emotion that every word felt autobiographical. Number 2 on Billboard. Over 1 million copies sold. Pearl Jam would cover it 35 years later and introduce a new generation to heartbreak. But Wilson and the Cavaliers, one kiss, one hit, then gone. This won't be the last tragedy on our list. Number 12 takes a turn so dark it'll shock you. Number 17, They're Coming to Take Me Away, ha ha! Napoleon XIII, 1966.
Remember when you ran away and I got on my knees and begged you?
Remember the Louie panic? This was worse. Jerry Samuels, performing as Napoleon XIII, recorded the strangest novelty song of 1966. No instruments, just a snare drum, sound effects, and Samuel's voice spiraling into madness as he narrates a mental breakdown over lost love. They're coming to take me away, ha ha, to the funny farm where life is beautiful all the time. The song shot to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. Then the backlash hit like a tidal wave. Mental health advocates were outraged. Radio stations pulled it, claiming it mocked the mentally ill. The record was banned in several cities. Napoleon XIII tried other novelty songs. Nothing worked. The controversy destroyed him faster than it had built him up. One manic laugh, one massive hit, one career ended by outrage. Number 16, Eve of Destruction, Barry Maguire, 1965.
Eastern world, it is exploding.
Vietnam escalating, cities burning, nuclear war looming. Barry Maguire gave voice to a generation's fury with a song that didn't whisper, it screamed. Written in 20 minutes by P.F. Sloan, Eve of Destruction hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Radio stations debated whether to play it. Some banned it as un-American, calling it dangerous propaganda. Others played it on repeat, calling it the most important song of the year. McGuire seemed like the voice of the counterculture. One song, that was it. But it captured 1965 like a photograph you can still feel burning. Number 15, 96 Tears, and The Mysterians, 1966. Even the band's name was a question mark. Question Mark and the Mysterians wore sunglasses everywhere, refused interviews, and played an organ riff that sounded like it came from another dimension. This raw garage rock heartbreak hit number 1 in late 1966, proving you didn't need polish to reach the top. Just emotion and a hook that wouldn't let go. They tried to keep the mystery alive with follow-ups. Radio moved on. The band vanished as mysteriously as they'd appeared. 96 Tears. One hit. The mystery remains. Comment the first one you recognize. No cheating. And trust me, the top 10 get even stranger. Number 14, Wooly Bully. Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs, 1965. Uno, dos, one, two, tres, cuatro. Pure, glorious nonsense. Wooly Bully was Tex-Mex flavored garage rock that hit number 2 and became 1965's biggest selling single. Sam wore a turban. The band dressed like pharaohs. America loved every second. They had minor hits after, but nothing came close. Sometimes you catch magic by accident, by just letting loose and not caring what anyone thinks. Number 13, Ode to Billy Joe, Bobby Gentry, 1967.
I was out chopping cotton and my brother was baling hay.
It was the 3rd of June, another sleepy, dusty Delta day. Bobby Gentry pulled you into a mystery that has never been solved. A family sits down to dinner, casually mentioning that Billy Joe McAllister jumped off the Tallahatchie Bridge. Why? What happened up there? The narrator knows, but she's not telling. 4 weeks at number 1, 3 Grammy Awards. And here's what makes this story different from the others. Gentry chose to walk away. In the early 1980s, at the height of her fame, she simply stopped performing and disappeared from public life entirely. What did Billy Joe throw off that bridge? We'll never know. Gentry left us with a mystery wrapped in a melody. Not everyone on this list faded by accident. Some made a choice. Number 12, The Cheater. Bob Cuban and the Inmen, 1966.
Look out for the cheater. He's gonna build you up.
The Cheater was a bouncy, horn-driven soul track about a two-timing lover. Bob Cuban and the Inmen watched it climb to number 12 on Billboard in early 1966. It seemed like the beginning of something big. Lead singer Walter Scott had the kind of voice that could break hearts. Smooth, powerful, authentic. The band toured, appeared on television, tried desperately to follow up their one hit. Nothing worked. By the early 70s, they dissolved. But here's where this story turns darker than any other on this list. In 1983, Walter Scott disappeared. His wife reported him missing. For years, there were no answers, just whispers and speculation. Then, in 1987, Scott's body was discovered. He'd been murdered. The killer? His wife's lover, who'd shot him and dumped his body in a cistern. The case became a national story. A one-hit wonder whose life ended in a crime that took years to solve. Scott never knew The Cheater would become his legacy. A song about betrayal that ended in the ultimate betrayal. One hit about cheating, one life cut short by it. Number 11, Bend Me, Shape Me, American Breed, 1967.
You are all the woman I need, and baby, you know it.
Pure Blue-Eyed Soul, horns blaring, number 5 on Billboard. A song about being willing to change completely for love. They bent, they shaped, but couldn't recreate it. Number 10, Little Bit of Soul, The Music Explosion, 1967.
Now when you're feeling low and the fish won't bite.
This Ohio garage band nearly knocked the Beatles off number 1. Hit number 2. For one shining moment, they were on top of the world. But explosions don't last. Number 9. Elusive Butterfly. Bob Lind, 1966.
To the sound of something moving past your window in
Delicate folk pop about chasing something beautiful that slips away. Hit number 5, The Butterfly Stayed Elusive Forever, for Bob Lind and everyone who's chased impossible dreams. If you've heard at least 2 of these on the radio in real life, hit like, because the top 3 are going to unlock memories you forgot you had. Number 8, Judy in Disguise with Glasses. John Fred and his Playboy Band, 1968. Everyone knew the Beatles' Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So when John Fred and his Playboy Band from Louisiana released their playful parody, nobody expected it to knock the Beatles themselves out of number 1. But it did. 2 weeks at the top in early 1968. A small band from Baton Rouge outselling the biggest group in the world. The success was massive, but brief. John Fred went back to Louisiana, became a high school teacher and basketball coach, and never regretted it. Some artists chase fame forever. Others get their moment and choose real life. Number 7, Western Union. The Five Americans, 1967.
Western Union man, bad news in his hand.
In 1967, telegrams were already becoming obsolete, but the Five Americans turned that dying technology into a metaphor for desperate communication. That distinctive guitar riff sounded like telegraph clicks. The song raced to number 5 on Billboard and became one of the summer's most played records. Despite their patriotic name, the Five Americans never marched to another major hit. Western Union delivered their one message, then signed off. Short, direct, unforgettable. Number 6, Green Tambourine. The Lemon Pipers, 1968.
In my tambourine, held for man.
Drop out, turn on, play the Green Tambourine. This was corporate America trying to package hippie rebellion for suburban teenagers. And somehow it worked. The song climbed to number 1 in early 1968. But here's the tragedy. The Lemon Pipers hated being labeled bubblegum. They wanted to create serious art about war and social change. The label wanted more green tambourines. The battle turned bitter. The band refused to promote their own biggest hit. Neither side won. The Lemon Pipers faded away while that tambourine kept jingling. Sometimes artistic vision and commercial success are destined to clash. Number 5, Incense and Peppermints. Strawberry Alarm Clock, 1967.
Occasion spots, wagon spots in your mind. In the sense of
The Summer of Love needed a soundtrack. Strawberry Alarm Clock delivered. Pure psychedelia, swirling organs, cryptic lyrics, a groove that felt like floating. The title alone became shorthand for the entire hippie aesthetic. It hit number 1 in fall 1967, but psychedelic moments don't last. By 1968, the culture had moved toward darker, heavier sounds. Strawberry Alarm Clock couldn't make the transition. The incense burned out. The peppermints melted. But that memory lingers like sweet smoke. Number 4, Nana Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye. Steam, 1969.
No, we wouldn't make you cry.
Here's one of the strangest stories in music history. Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in late 1969. It became an instant anthem, still played at sporting events today when the home team's winning and the other side's heading for the exit. But here's the twist. Steam wasn't a real band when the song was released. Producer Gary DiCarlo and 2 studio musicians recorded it as a B-side throwaway track, using the fictional name Steam, because they never expected anyone to hear it. When a radio DJ flipped the record over and started playing it, requests exploded. The label scrambled to create an actual touring version of Steam. They hired session musicians, put together promotional appearances, tried to capitalize on the hit. But the whole thing felt fake, because it was fake. By 1970, the fictional band that accidentally became real faded back into fiction. The song outlived them by decades. Success arrived, but there was nobody home to answer the door. Number 3. Gimme Little Sign, Brenton Wood, 1967. Sometimes you don't need grand declarations. Sometimes you just want a little sign, some small hint that she feels the same way. Brenton Wood's smooth falsetto pleaded for just the tiniest encouragement. The groove made it impossible not to move. Number 9 on Billboard in summer 1967. Wood kept performing for decades, becoming a fixture on the oldies circuit. But he never matched the commercial magic of this one infectious plea. Everyone has been there, waiting for a sign, hoping for encouragement, trying to read between the lines. Sometimes a little sign is all you need, and sometimes it's all you get. Number 2, A Lover's Concerto, The Toys, 1965.
How gentle is the rain that falls.
Songwriters Sandy Linzer and Denny Randell had an audacious idea. Take Bach's Minuet in G major from the 1700s and transform it into a modern pop love song. With the Toys' fresh vocals, A Lover's Concerto sounded both timeless and completely contemporary. The harpsichord gave it classical elegance. The girl group harmonies made it accessible and sweet. Number 2 on Billboard in late 1965, held off the top only by the Beatles' Yesterday. The Toys seemed destined for greatness. It was their one and only grand performance. But what a performance to be remembered for. Proof that great melodies never die, they just wait for the right artist to bring them back to life. Number 1. In the year 2525, Zager and Evans, 1969. 2525. What will humanity look like in the year 2525? Will we still think for ourselves? Will machines replace our humanity? These apocalyptic questions arrived in summer 1969, just weeks after humans walked on the moon. In the year 2525, shot to number 1 and stayed there for 6 weeks. 4 million copies sold worldwide. Zager and Evans seemed unstoppable. Then came the strangest ending on our entire list. They released follow-up singles. Nobody cared, not even a little. The duo disappeared almost as quickly as they'd arrived, as if they'd traveled through time specifically to deliver their one warning to 1969 America. Rick Evans had written the song years earlier, inspired by a book about future civilizations. When they finally recorded it in a small Nebraska studio, they had no idea it would strike such a nerve at exactly the right moment in history. We're not in 2525 yet, but those questions about humanity's relationship with technology, they've never been more relevant. Sometimes a prophecy only needs to be spoken once. 20 songs. 20 artists who gave us one perfect moment and then let history take over. But here's what we need to remember. These weren't failures. These were artists who touched millions of lives, who became the soundtrack to first dances, heartbreaks, and moments of pure joy. That's more than most achieve in entire careers. So here's my question. Which of these takes you right back to a specific moment? Maybe Sugar Shack was playing at your first school dance. Maybe Eve of Destruction made you question everything. Maybe Wooly Bully was on the radio when you got your first car. Tell us your story in the comments. Where were you? Who were you with? What did that song mean then? And what does it mean now? If you love this journey through the forgotten hits of the 60s, hit subscribe and the bell. We're going deeper. More lost treasures, more memories that made us who we are. Thanks for riding along. Keep those memories alive and those records spinning. This is Retro America signing off.